I have decided to do an intuitive tarot reading for today's election, primarily because it is not only the midterm elections for the US, it is also um, the lunar eclipse in Taurus, and there's a lot happening astrologically, and there's a lot happening on the ground, and I know that tensions are high. I know that if I'm feeling jittery, I know that there are a number of people out there who are also experiencing just a feeling of uneasiness and concern. And I want to address that on the spiritual level. I think one thing that we forget is that we are spiritual beings, no matter what your religious beliefs are. What happens when we go to vote tomorrow at the polls is going to affect our day-to-day lives, and it's going to affect how we get to interact with our family, and how we get to interact with our neighbors, and how we get to take care of ourselves. And so I wanted to address that with some intuitive tarot reading. So I'm already in my office. I've already done my talking to my spirits and my ancestors, my guides, and my angels and my oracles and my Orisha. I've already started shuffling some cards. What we're going to do now is I'm actually going to do a Celtic cross, and then I'm going to pull some oracle cards to go with this. I do want you to know that this is intuitive tarot reading, and I am not going to try and add my own personal beliefs in there. I'm going to try and give you what's coming through. So far, I did do a short reading on TikTok, and that first reading was saying that, yeah, it's going to be a little while tomorrow. It's currently 12:44 Central Standard Time on November 8th in the morning. In just a few hours, we will have the lunar eclipse. You'll be able to see that right before sunrise. And then in a few hours after that, the polls open. So it's a crazy evening, and I know I'm not the only one who's out. So the first card has come out from our hoodoo deck. This is the one that I use primarily to talk to ancestors. And I'm just getting 3 cards from them before I pull the Celtic cross. And all right. So the first card I got was 5 of coins, and the 5 of coins is showing a person here who is being blessed. We actually got this card in our Writer's Tarot reading a couple of times. And this card is, I know everybody's been hearing this term, generational healing, that we are in a particular time in history in which we have more access to certain resources, not all of our resources, but certain resources. And that access to community guidance and community healing, to self-healing is something that hasn't been experienced by previous generations. The fact that this is a collective effort to heal is happening, and it's saying that this is a moment in time. This is a specific moment in time to try to heal the generational harm and feelings of violence right now with legislation. We inherited a lot of that trauma, and we inherited a lot of the sadness and pain from not being able to access healthcare, from not being able to access support services such as housing or mental health, not being able to access jobs, not being able to receive so much, and it broke our families, right? We know that incarceration broke our families, and this is a card that's saying that we are the ones who will be making that change, and that we need to go ahead and get started on that, and it starts at the polls. There's definitely work that happens after that, let's be clear. But it does start with us recognizing that we are the ones who get to do the healing, and that this is something, it's both a blessing and a heaviness, that we have to be the ones to do that work, but we are the ones to do that work. So in a way, we should be encouraged by that. that we get that opportunity to be the ones who get to help heal not just our current generation, but the generations that came before us, right? The next card that came out was Pa, which is in the traditional deck. This is known as the moon. And we can see here an older person hugging a younger person, and they're sitting in a boat and they're looking at the moon. There's a lot of masculine energy that comes with this card, and I know that most people associate the moon with just feminine, but there's a lot of divine masculine energy that comes with this card. It did come out in the reversed. We do know that we have a lunar eclipse that's happening in just a few hours. And what I'm getting from it, and this is something I actually felt intuitively earlier. It's a message I got earlier while I was doing some meditating. This country was founded with a lot of masculine energy, a lot of divine masculine energy. The way that we operate as a country, and I do mean like structurally, is with this these divine masculine traits, right? Things have to be in a certain order. Things have to be very clear cut. There's not a lot of room left for the divine feminine, which includes emotion, which includes spirituality, which includes mental health, which includes a lot of internal work. A lot of what we see happening legislatively is all about the exterior and nothing about the interior, right? This idea that I'm just going to pick a policy and go with it. You may or may not agree. That's 100% okay. We're going to start with abortion, right? A lot of people only think about what's going to happen with the physical body. Rarely do they address what's going to happen to the mind and what's going to happen to the heart and what's going to happen to the spirit when we are forced to do things we do not want to do, when we are forced to enact a physical thing that we don't want to take part in, right? Forcing people to carry a person is going to change how they think and view and see the world and experience the world. It's going to affect their emotions. It's going to affect their mind. It's going to affect their heart, and it's going to affect the way that they interact with others. And this is definitely telling me that it's when it comes out reverse like this, that we need to address that. We need to make that change. We need to understand that these policies aren't just affecting us and our physical bodies, it is affecting us in our internal bodies, our minds, our hearts, our spirits. This next card is going to look a little scary, but I want to tell you the good news about it. This is the Nine of Knives, which in the traditional deck is the Nine of Swords. And in this one, what we're seeing is a skull surrounded by a number of peaches with swords in them. There is a horrible story that's attached to this card, and it has a lot to do with violence that was enacted on an entire community. The people were slaughtered, and they were slaughtered next to a peach tree, and they were buried next to a peach tree. And so at a later date, what ended up happening was that when the peaches came back and the peaches started to grow, nobody wanted to eat the peaches. They were like, nope, not those peaches, because those peaches have essentially, in a way that other people can understand, they've been cursed, right? They've got bad blood on them. What goes into the ground feeds the tree, and the tree, when it drops fruit, is that the fruit I want? This can be the strange fruit card, if that helps to put it into reference for you. People don't want that strange fruit. But what we're seeing in this card, and what the Nine of Swords can mean when it's in the upright position, is that we are putting those old narratives about who is of value and who brings value to the world. We're putting that to rest. Okay? We are saying we are done with that. We don't want any more of that, and we're going to make that change ourselves. There is this feeling of, I know some folks have probably heard the term on my last nerve, and I normally talk about it because I have trigeminal neuralgia. I normally talk about it when I'm describing what it means to have trigeminal neuralgia, what it feels like. But this is like, our federal government is getting on our last nerve, and you don't touch that last nerve, and now I got to do something about it. And that's kind of what it feels like right now. I'm not just talking about social media, and I'm not just talking about what you're seeing in the news. I'm talking about in our families, in our homes, in our communities. Everybody's tired, and they're like, something has got to change. And it's not just what happens at the federal level, it's what happens at the local level, right? Wanting to we're tired of it. Everybody wants to be treated with human decency, period, point blank. Human decency. That means I don't go in your space, you don't come in my space. You don't try to judge me based off of a few things with little context, and I won't judge you off of a few little things with little context. We're going to respect each other. We're going to treat each other with respect. So, I feel like I just went circular on that, but like it's late at night and I'm trying to get this message out to you. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next card. Next card is the Six of Coins. It came out reversed. Message I'm getting from that. I didn't want to... It's an intuitive reading. And I always try to be real about that. And something I don't always talk about with other folks. I feel like we need to be very, very careful tomorrow at the polls. What I mean by that is please take care of yourself. You see me wearing my hat, you see me wearing my scarf. There's a reason for that. Even though I'm online, I wanted to make sure that I was protecting my head and I was protecting my heart. I wanted to make sure I was protecting my physical body and my spiritual body. Going to the polls, there's going to be a lot of energy rolling around in those spaces. So please take the time to protect your spiritual selves. Take the time to protect your mind and your heart before you walk into those spaces, because some of that energy is not going to be good. Some of that energy is going to be real violent in terms of like how people are just saying things, how people are moving, how people are walking into those spaces. So just please take care of your spiritual body as well as your physical body before you move into those spaces. I am not going to go into detail because this is the internet. But I think if you're on my channel, you probably know what I'm saying, right? The next card we're going to look at, I didn't think I was going to do this deck next, but it's the one that wants to come out. The deck I'm going to is my Crow deck. This is a Crow Tarot. And I normally use this one for messages. And I didn't think I wanted messages, like actual things of communication, but we do know there's a lot of talk about it might take more than tomorrow for us to finish counting all the ballots. There's a lot of missing ballots that are happening in Georgia. And so this is just about in terms of what messages we might be receiving in a very real and material way. Things that might come up in the headlines tomorrow and in the days after. And this, we still haven't even got to the Celtic Cross yet. I'm going to get there. Okay. Okay. I'm going to have to do some clarification right off the back, I could tell. Okay. So the first card that came out was Judgment. And Judgment is very much about not only a reckoning with oneself, right? And when you have we call this the dark night of the soul. We call this like am I really about what I say I'm about, or am I fronting, right? Am I really ready to make the change and advance forward, or am I fronting? And that's what this is, right? And the good news is that for the most part, when it comes up in the positive, it means that like, yeah, you are ready. You are ready. You are about what you said you're about, and it's time to take action and transforming oneself, allowing the old story about you to be released so that you can step into the new story. I'm going to take that one step forward and talk about what it means to release the old narrative about what America is and who is American, right? Like that's a whole other thing. Release that old narrative and bring in the new narrative. What would it mean if we started thinking about how the government is run, how our legislation is decided, who gets to decide what if we started transforming that narrative and making it more inclusive and making it more organic, as opposed to something that is very mechanical and that is visibly breaking apart. When I say old narratives, we've got this narrative about North America. We got this narrative about how it began with these great heroes who only wanted to do the right thing and who did it in a very civil way. And we forget that the actual narrative, like the actual true facts of the narrative, is that a group of protesters got together and burnt down some businesses and threw some tea and some water and literally set fire to things in order to set themselves free from a government that they found abusive and tyrannical. What if we started to recognize that we are a country that is, we started in a space that wasn't all peaceful and nice and pretty, and that we sometimes have to do things differently. I don't know what that differently is. I'm not going to say that it has to be protests. I'm not going to say that right off the top, because I need more I need more guidance before I get into all that. But I will say that there is a narrative about who we are that we need to really take a good hard look at and start to rewrite. Right? We need to start reimagining what's possible for our future. I do want to point out here that in the back is what looks like some fire coming up out of these mountains. And we see all these dead crows that are now being risen. And this again supports the cards that we got from the Hoodoo deck in terms of our ancestors are coming forth, and our ancestors are guiding this, and they are asking us to heal this generation. That is the gift that we have received. It is our opportunity to heal this country, to heal all of the pain that our ancestors have felt, and bring it into wholeness. Bring it into wholeness. So I'm going to go to the next card. The next card I got here is, I'm feeling all my feelings. Two of Cups. We got two crows hanging out on top of two cups. They are feeding each other. We see a lotus coming from the bottom. Now we see this this here. We have a lot of images, and it came out in reverse. Normally, when you see the Two of Cups, it's about a partnership that works. Right now, when I read this in terms of quite literally the midterm elections, and understanding that, again, we are experiencing, as I do this right now, we are preparing and walking into and already in the energy of a lunar eclipse, which is about the endings of things. There's a binary system that we operate under, and that two-party system is not working, and it is coming to an end. We are watching history happen, which is why I had to make this this reading tonight. We are watching history happen, and we are recognizing that what we have set up is not what is functional. I keep seeing American experiment everywhere. And the thing with the American experiment is that we only did one experiment, and we were like, yep, that works, that's good, everything's fine. But if you know anything about science, you know anything about experiments, is you got to keep trying different things. You got to keep switching things up in order to make it more, to make it better, right? Like you try a thing and it works out fine. You're like, how can I improve on this? And then you make the changes necessary to improve on it. And if a certain path is just, you keep running up against a block, then you're like, okay, look, we just got to scrap the whole thing and start all over. You see what I did there? This is just how, you know, experiments work. You try a thing and you keep trying to fix it. And if it doesn't work, you got to switch it to a new thing. I've already started writing an essay on this, but like the fact is, if this experiment, this American experiment has not been working, and we've made amendments and we've tried to, you know, employ different people into these positions of power, and it still hasn't been working for the collective, it still hasn't been inclusive, it still hasn't helped to make sure that the well-being of all and not just some is being taken care of, then we need to start looking at a new system. I'm gonna get off my high horse on that. The next card is the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords here is, we're showing a crow who is blindfolded, surrounded by all these swords. Now, if you know anything about birds, you see a bird, if they have anything on them, they're like, nope, 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 I don't want it. And they jiggle and they move. And you can see this is just a piece of string. They could easily take that off of them. And they're surrounded by all these swords, but they could easily, you know, wiggle their way out of there. There's space to get out of it. But they don't want to do that. They're like, oh no, everything is too hard. I don't want to see how easy it is for me to get to all that open space all the way around me. And it is easy, right? There is I'm hearing the words about justice being blind, about the law being blind, about the law being the law not having any sort of preference, and that's just not true, right? We have to recognize that as human beings, so not as a separate entity that has no feelings. We are human beings, and the people that we employ are human beings, and the people that we nominate are human beings. Who we are employing, they're human beings. They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have experiences, human experiences, and they can see what's happening, and they choose to ignore it. They choose to be blind to it. They choose to operate differently. And this is an opportunity for everybody to stop doing that. What if we decided to see and recognize what's happening around us and act differently? What if we choose to take authority and a position of power in our own lives and really integrate our human emotions and our human experiences into our decisions when it comes to legislation, right? Take the little blindfold off. The next card that came out was the Five of Wands, and we see here what looks like a very organized battle of crows with wands. This is about change. This is about a battle. I am hearing that it will take some time for us to get our results, that it's not all going to happen very quickly, and that the media is going to try to play all sort of angles, but it's going to be fair, right? The actual election will be fair. And when I say the election itself, I mean like what happens in the polls will be fair. Is it about, has the marketing been fair? No. Has what happened on Twitter with Elon Musk and with Trump's rally and all the other fun stuff, has that definitely impacted what happens at the polls? Absolutely. Absolutely. Was that fair? The strategies, the lies, the misinformation? No. Not at all. But the process itself, it taking time to receive the results, that is fair, because we are operating on that. Do we like it? No. Is it the most efficient process? No. That's not what is being talked about in this card. It's just saying that people are working with what they have and doing the best they can with that, and it may take some time, and that's okay. Right? Are we going to be happy about the outcome? I have no freaking idea. No freaking idea. The next card that came out for the overall energy was the Seven of Cups. It's a crow taking a look at all these options, and it came out in the reverse. Normally this is about decisions and people being overwhelmed with all of the information that's coming in, which we know is a part of having social media, having all the media doing all the things. It's overwhelming, all of the information. I'm going to ask for one clarification on that card. Can you give me some? It gave me 3 cards. I didn't ask for 3 cards. I asked for a card. And it's saying that some people they are not voting, or they're concerned about voting because they haven't gotten clarity on it. They're concerned that it's going to affect their ability to be at peace in their own communities. That could mean they're worried about their job, or they're worried about how their family's going to react, or how it's going to impact other people who they're close with. And then the final one is that they have to make a decision, right? They have to. This is going to be a day in which your grandchildren and history is going to ask you, what did you do on this day? How did you act on this day? How did you respond? When I say that they don't have a clear vision, I got the Page of Wands, and it came out in the reversed. And there's this desire for clarity, for a message, for something to come through that says, this is what you should do. And people feel like they don't have that yet. When they say that they're worried about their communities or how other people are going to respond to their decision, we've got this Four of Wands, and it also came out in the reverse. And there's this feeling of being disconnected from the community or from other people, and so they really want that, but they feel like they're missing that. And then the last card, when I say they need to make a decision, when I say it's an absolute necessary thing, they got the Two of Swords here, and that Two of Swords came out and it came up, And it's really asking folks to make a decision. You have to make a decision about what direction you want to go in. I'm feeling the need to go to these cards. So I'm going to go to these. These are my empath cards. They have just some words on them, and because I'm doing this live, and it's my first one, and I've got time today, I'm going to read the description from the booklet. But first, we're going to get the cards. Can you give me the cards, please, for the Lunar Eclipse and Taurus, and for the election? General energies, just some things we need to know, some things we want to consider. Okay, 3 came out. I only wanted 1. 3 came out. All right. I'm not going to read the whole description. I'm actually just going to do this intuitively because first one that came out was the cosmic egg. If we don't know the story of the cosmic egg, some quick facts about it is that it's one of the theories about the Big Bang. It's also one of the founding principles of a lot of spiritual practices about us being, what came first, chicken or egg? Everyone says egg, right? We were in a place of stasis, and then we burst forth and came into being, is essentially what that's saying. And this feels like this is a cosmic egg moment, essentially. This is a time in history in which, when future generations ask what happened to the old way of doing things, this will go down in history as a pivotal moment in our nation, as a pivotal moment and a turning tide in how we decide who is going to lead us and how they're going to lead us. I feel like it's going to be catalytic to transforming not just who is in a position of power, but also how inclusive we are when it comes to sharing that power. I feel like a lot of people are going to be activated, which is good. Earth stewardship is the next one that's coming through. A lot of people are going to be very concerned. So they're going to be very concerned about all of the big issues that we've already seen in the news, but behind all of it is climate change. I think that there is going to be a real need for us to turn our attention to what's happening with not only the weather, but also food production for some reason is coming up. There's going to be some information coming forth that is going to be hard on us because some resources that we thought were always there are not going to be there anymore. And it's going to add another dimension to our concerns and our worries and to our decision-making process, right? We've already had a lot of losses in the entertainment industry, and I think we're going to see some more. I'm not going to go too far into that because I'm just not thinking that's what I need to do right now. We're going to stay focused on election, but I do feel like we're going to have one more tomorrow. And the next several days we'll have another. The last card that I'm seeing here from the empath deck is raise your frequency, right? So when I was doing my meditation earlier and I was asking my ancestors and my spirit guides, you know, what do I need to do at this moment? What do I do? Do I go to sleep? Do I rest? Do I just turn off everything and just walk away? And they said, no, you need to do a reading, which is why I'm doing this reading in the middle of the night. It's 1:11 in the morning. It's literally 1:11. I don't know if you can see that. 1:11 on my watch. It's 1:11 in the morning. And the response was, no, you need to do a reading. We need you to tap in. This is a moment for you to tap into the energy. It's a moment for you to tap into the work that you're supposed to be doing, me, right? And so it feels like it's asking everyone to do that. It's asking you to think about, you said that you had the potential to change the world at some point in your life. If you're watching this, you were like, I want to do something good for the people who I know and love. And I know that it's possible for me to do this, even if it's not like everybody, even if it's just like what happens in my building, even if it's just what happens in my classroom, even if it's just what happens with the people I work with or my kids or like, you know, my friends. Like I'm gonna make a good impact on them. I'm gonna do the most I can with my life. You said you could do that. And now they're asking you to step up to the plate. Now they're asking you to go ahead and, you said you was ready. Now is the time. This is really kind of critical day in terms of ending chapters and starting new ones. But you can't start a new chapter till you end the old chapter. And so if there's an old version of you, and when I say old version, like you already know what that old version is. If there's an old version of you, a version of you that you felt like represented your old beliefs and ideals about the world, but over the last few months you've been feeling that kind of change and shift, now is the time for you to go ahead and make that first step into the new version of yourself, right? And this is true for everyone. This is your time for you to activate. One of the ways that I've taken those steps is literally starting the Writer's Tarot, is literally doing more on TikTok and doing more on YouTube and, you know, being more vocal. I've been real quiet for a little bit. And they were like, nope, time to raise your frequency. So quite literally raising your frequency, like, you know, phones have energy and whatnot. But also taking yourself seriously when it comes to your spiritual practice, right? Most people are okay with you like taking a shower and getting dressed and going to work, but they don't include meditation and getting dressed and taking a shower and going to work. They're like, oh, that's not as important as the shower or as the getting dressed or as the going to work, when it's just as necessary. Maybe it means it's time for you to spend more time working on your spirit, the same way that you work on your body when you go to the gym, or the same way that you switch up your diet. Maybe you need to listen to different music. Maybe you need to be doing some different practices when you're like working out. So maybe it's not just the treadmill and the weights. Maybe it's also really focusing on stretching, really focusing on flexibility. Maybe you need to switch up your diet. Does that mean you need to change what you're listening to? Does that mean you need to change who you're interacting with? Like, what does that mean for you? But raising your frequency on all levels. So not just on the ones that other people can see, but the ones that you can feel. So that's where I'm going to leave that. I don't think we're going to get to that. I don't think are we going to get to it? Yeah, we're going to get to it. I'm going to do it right now. All right, we're going to do that Celtic cross. We're 32 minutes in. If you're watching this, I hope it's because you're standing in line at the polls and you needed something to kind of calm you and give you some grounding. If you are watching this after November 8th, this is also something that you could watch after that date for sure, but it's giving you context for the day and context for the moment, right? We're going to do a Celtic cross. Can you give me information about both the eclipse and how it's going to impact people, as well as the actual election day and how it's going to impact us? I keep thinking about how fearful I was to do spiritual work when it comes to legislation. And then I remembered that there was actual legislation that was created, that was enacted, called Manifest Destiny. Those are two words that have a lot of spiritual implications. And that on our dollar bills, it says under one God. And there's a pyramid on the back of that thing. Interesting. That so much spirituality is ingrained inside of our legislative structures, but then we're not allowed to address those things or the diversity of those things, right? And how if I see that legislation is being enacted that is specific to one religion, it is part of my own activism to represent the other ideas and modes of communication and spirit that exist and that are just as important, just as critical when thinking about legislation and its impact on others and what's best for my community. All right, here we go. Okay. Okay. All right. First things first. Right off the top, we got the Three of Coins. It did come out reversed. And when it came out reversed, first thought that I had was that, yes, there are going to be some local structures that are being broken apart, right? It is going to impact financial issues at the local level. It does feel like there were some coalitions that are breaking apart. There might even be some organizations, grassroots organizations, that are experiencing financial issues as a result of what's happening on election day. I do think that this also has to do with the fact that so many people are coming from a place of poverty when it comes to manifesting new wealth. They want security. They want to feel like they have everything that they need. Oh, hi Desiree. Thank you. They want to feel like they have everything they need, but they don't, and so they're stuck in that place of poverty. And every time they try to address it, they think about all the things they need, as opposed to looking at everything they already have and celebrating all of the wealth that's around them, celebrating all of the things that they do have. That might be community. That might be a place to sleep tonight. That might be some food in the refrigerator. You may not have everything you want, but you already have some things. The card that is in the position of blocking is the Four of Coins. And the first image that came to my mind was this desire to restructure and to fix what is the foundation of everything. That foundation has to be redone. And when we see the butterfly sitting at the top here, right? We see this butterfly hanging out at the top and checking it out. It might be a moth, but it looks like a butterfly to me. What it says is that we are in that process of we are envisioning what that new foundation might look like. What that new, where do we put the money? Where do we put our resources to restructure the foundation and make it more solid for more people, right? That's what I'm getting from that image. There's a lot of red, a lot of root chakra in that. And it does look like there's a nice dream future back there. Behind the curtains is the abundance. There are more flowers behind the curtain. There's absolutely none around it. And that tells me that even when reimagining how we might have a government and restructure a government or just make it more inclusive, even when doing that, it requires that we come from a place of wealth. It requires that we come from a place of joy, and we think about all the resources that already exist. I was, again, meditating outside, and I was asking myself, man, but like, what does that really look like? What happens to who fixes the houses and the streets if we restructure government and people are no longer being penalized for things they don't need to be penalized for, and people can just work and do whatever they want to? Like, how are we going to have people working jobs that some of us don't like? And I realize that there are people who will always enjoy making houses, except it won't be like a burden for them to do it because they'll want to do it. There will always be someone who wants to cook. We don't have to force them into those positions. They'll always want to cook. There will always be people who want to do that. Even for people who do the trash work, right? There are some people who love that job, who want to do that job, who aren't going to be forced into it. Just like there are some of us who really enjoy creating art. It's not going to be like done out of desperation. It's going to be done out of desire and joy. And so really understanding that the restructuring is allowing people to operate in the ways that come naturally to them and organically to them, as opposed to forcing them to do it, right? Forcing them into factories, forcing them into low-paying jobs. If everybody has access to money, healthcare, housing, all the things that they need, if they have access to it, and we say, do what you want to do, and we're going to support you in that, we'll find that all the things we actually need to make society run are already here. We already have it. We just have to figure out how to make it easier for people to do what comes naturally to them, and then give them the space and time to grow into that. So I hope that was clear. The next card that came out was the Ace of Swords. This is the same card that came out in my TikTok reading, and it also came out in the reverse. And There's going to be some arguing. It's going to be really important that we stick to our guns, is the best way I can come with that word. Stick to our 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 beliefs and be willing to back it up. The next card that came out was the Ten of Disc, and it did come out in the reversed. This is very much about all of the ideas that we have looked at when it comes to who deserves entry into the world of power, and how that has been so separate from the rest of the world. We haven't been equitable as a nation, and we haven't really tried to give everyone what they needed. There's always a group of people who kept it for just a small few people, right? Like, we see that it's a school and it's on top of this tiny little thing. There's no one else around it. It's not connected to the rest of the country. And it came out in the reverse. It's time to get rid of that idea and start thinking about, no, how do we make this better for everyone and not just for some of us? I'm going a little bit fast through these because I want to get through them, and to be honest, there's a lot of energy and it's hurting my head. The next card that came up was the Prince of Wands. It did come out in the reversed, and what we're seeing here is this: we've moved really fast on a lot of ideas, and sometimes too fast. This is quite literally bringing me Twitter, right? This is very much a bird on fire, upside down, going way too fast. We know that social media has more power than most people recognize. Most older generations have recognized, and we're only now understanding just how powerful social media can be to improve the quality of life for many folks, as well as impacting what happens with elections and impacting what happens with businesses, what happens with careers. This is very Kanye, right? Like, the things that we say and do on these social media platforms have the ability to impact our quality of life. And we're seeing with it, and this was in the past position, okay? I want to be clear, this is in the past position. In the past position, we see how that's affecting us and how that has the potential to affect what happens in the election tomorrow, as well as what could happen in 2024. And so that is definitely contributing to this conversation. The Five of Swords was the card that came out in the future position. And with this card coming out in the reversed, what it tells me is that when someone is sick, right, in order for them to heal, sometimes it requires them to go through a period of pain. When you go into surgery to take the cancerous thing out, it requires some amount of pain before you can start the healing process. Even when you go to therapy, it requires you admitting the problem before you can heal the problem. And it's not easy. And I think that we are going to enter into a phase of pain. And I do mean that legislatively, even though a lot of the energy I'm getting is that we could see some action in the streets. But there will be some pain before we can heal. The good news about that is that is the true beginning of healing, right? Is feeling the pain, is recognizing the pain, acknowledging the pain, say, this sucks, this hurts, and I'm ready to change it. And so not ignoring it, not pretending like it's not there, it's not happening, but seeing it, recognizing it, accepting that this is happening, and then moving into the next phase. That next phase is possible. Like, the next card that came out was the Star card. Now, it did come out in reverse, which means that it feels like it is going to take some time. There is a need for us to understand how connected we are, to see our similarities before our differences, and to recognize that we all share this thing called life together at the same time. You can see there are two cups. Both of these cups in the upright are flowing equally, one into the water and one into the land. This does feel like the two-party system. When it comes out reversed, it feels like this need for us to remember that we come from the same place. even though we have different experiences, we come from the same place. Our spirits come from the same place. We all want some of the same things. Not everything the same, but some of the same things. We all want a home and a roof over our head. We all want food in our bellies. We all want to feel secure and safe. We all want to experience joy. A lot of us want to experience connection, relationships. And we all want to kind of know what's going to happen after we die. We all want to know what's going to happen in our lives. We all have these kind of same existential questions. And even though we find different answers to them, we have to remember that they all come from the same place. That being said, because they all come from the same place, we need to see that when we hurt others, we hurt ourselves. And when ourselves are being hurt, that other person needs to recognize that we're the same. It doesn't matter what part of the world you came from. It doesn't matter what language you speak. It doesn't matter, what shape your physical body is in. It doesn't matter what your preferences are or what your inclinations are. We all come from the same place, and therefore we all deserve the same rights. Yes. I'm hoping that message is coming through. We all deserve to be treated with respect. We all deserve to have access to certain things. I'm going to go to the next card. The energy of the situation is bringing us back, and this was in another deck. We had this come up in another deck, but the Judgment card came up, which is the second to last card. But in this one, we see the Fool. This is the first card. This is the very beginning. This is the danger zone. Quite literally the danger zone. This person is not paying attention. They're smelling the flowers and they're about to walk off a cliff, and everybody's like, whoa, bud, are you sure you want to do that? When it comes in the reverse, it's just saying that we are getting ready to step into something new. We are not there yet, but we're getting ready to step into something new, and we are scared about it. And that's okay to be scared, but can't stay there forever. That's just the beginning. It's taking a risk. It's taking the leap, right? A trope that we hear all the time. Take the leap. This is saying it's time for you to go ahead and take a step. Now, this card did come up in the Crow reading, which is the Eight of Swords. He came out reversed. And this card is definitely saying that we are getting ready to release. We're getting ready to release. But that's what frightens us. We are getting ready to release these old ideas. We are getting ready to release these old narratives about who we are as a country, about who we like, the way things should be done. We are getting ready to release ourselves from that. I am noting that in this particular card, you can see that this person's hair or arms or tentacles or whatever you want to call it, if you look real close, you'll see that they are wrapped around the sharpest part of the knife or the swords and not the handles. Like, this person is actively holding on to what hurts as opposed to holding on to the part that won't hurt them, right? You would think, sword, I'm going to pick up the handle because the other parts are sharp and cut and they hurt. This one here is like, nope, I'm going to hold on to the sharp part. And I'm going to do it to myself. And no, let go. Let go. Let go. We are needing to let go. This came out in the fear and the hopes position. Because again, it's Celtic cross. It's time for us to let go of what hurts. If something is not working for the benefit of all, let go. That's not what's going to work out. If it's not feeding everybody, let it go. Let's try something different. Which is also kind of stand your ground. Stand your ground. Again, I feel like there are certain kind of readers I'm going to get, or certain kind of viewers I'm going to get, and readers. I'm a writer. And those people are going to understand what I mean by stand your ground. If you are operating with the desire and the vision for liberation for all, and you feel like the people who you thought were in your corner are not there right now, stand your ground. The vision that you received is for you. If they don't see it yet, it doesn't matter. You see it, and that's what matters. You see it, and that's who we need to see it, because you are the catalyst, right? This is a point in time where you need to take that stand on your own. with or without the support, with or without the encouragement, with or without the acknowledgement of others. You need to do what you need to do because you have received a message, you have received a calling, you have received whatever you need to receive, and to know that it's your job, that that's what you're here for. Um, so you need to stop looking for permission from other people to get it done. Know that if you were waiting for permission, you received your permission to go ahead and go. And it might be tough, but I think you got it. I think you have all the energy you need to get it done. I think you got it. The last card we're going to look at from this deck was the overall energy for the reading. And I thought it was funny when I received it. It came out in the reverse. It's the Hierophant. For those of you who aren't familiar with tarot, the Hierophant is, it can be about marriage. It can be about love. For the most part, though, when I get it, I'm looking at it as like a legal thing. This is someone who is, you know, an authority within the church or authority within religion, who is, you know, giving you everything you need to know, and they're the head of state, and they're this, that, and the third. And it's out in the reverse, which is telling me that the people are empowered, not the head. The head is the face, but like it's not what really makes things moves. Every night when I go to sleep, I thank my feet. I'm serious. I thank my feet. I thank my toes. I go, thank you so much, toes. Thank you so much for the bottom of my feet and my ankles, my calves, for just keeping me up and moving me around. You did a lot of work today. We did a lot today. Thank you so much for working and doing all of that work. Thank you so much, thighs, for like helping me hold up the torso. Thank you, torso, for all the things that you did. Thank you, arms. Thank you, hands. Thank you, every part of my body, because it's not just my head that makes things happen. There are lots of processes that happen internally within our bodies unconsciously. Right? You mean, oh, my feet are tired, I need to go ahead and move my legs. And you'll do it without going, oh, I need to move my legs. Sometimes you just move your legs. That's an internal process. The body is always working. And if we remember that this country is not just the head, it's not just the government, there are other parts that are working unconsciously, or things that are working without guidance. Right? Nobody is sitting in the car with us, but we still follow everything we need to when we're in the car. Theoretically, people are following the speed limit most of the time. You know, we do things without other people telling us to do things. We have to remember that none of this works without us. The head cannot survive without the body. It needs the body. And the body really thrives when there's a head. So both of those things need to work in tandem. They need to work together. They cannot work separately. They have to work together. That's the only way that they really succeed. I'm going to pull one more card. I think I'm going to pull one more card. It might be more than one, but this is just going to be an oracle reading from the African Goddess deck to close us out. It's been 53 minutes. Thank you so much for watching this. If you have, please like the video, share, comment, do whatever you want to. Really, this is for you. I felt the need to do it, and so I did it. Crazy time in American history, and a part of me just wanted to make sure that I listened to the calling that I received to get to it. I want to help to heal. I want to help to encourage, and I want to help to inspire the folks who are doing all of the work, right? Our poll workers, our grassroots organizers, our candidates who are actively working to the benefit of the community and not working against the community. I wanted to provide some sort of spiritual space for them. And that's why I got on here today. All right, so I got 3 cards. The first card that came out was Mojaji, Manifestation. She is dancing here, and it is a storm. Oh, just like I talked about with this 5 of Swords, when I said that sometimes healing hurts, and that's really the beginning of it, is knowing when it starts, like knowing that when healing starts, it's going to hurt at first and then it's going to get better. Like it's got to get worse before it gets better. We hear that all the time. I feel like when we talk about the blue wave and the red wave and winds of change and all those things. What we're talking about is like something big happening that represents the turning. And we all know that this country has been going through it and in need of a turn, and that turn is happening. And it does look like it's happening all around the country and not just in one place. So we're not looking at just one state really changing Congress. We're not looking at one election. We're looking at all the elections and how collectively they are making a change for us all. And it does look like it's going to be positive. So what positive means to me, I actually feel like it might be related to the carceral system specifically, which, let me clarify, the criminal legal system, because we live in a carceral system. The criminal legal system specifically, I feel like there's going to be some sort of change thanks to the elections that's going to bring us closer to ending mass incarceration specifically. That would imply a dim majority in Congress. I didn't want to make any predictions. But that's what it feels like. I'm trying to see, is that like a right now or in the future? It feels like the steps that are needing to be taken are being taken. I feel like it's still going to be very hard and it might take a little while. So there might be some like dripping in terms of getting results. So it's not like we're going to get a final answer tomorrow. We are going to get that drip and results. And that's what's going to cause so much of the storm. That's what's going to cause all the confusion. Is that so many people are going to be sitting on the edge of their seats for the next week or so, being like, are we going to be okay? But that the energy feels like it's going to be positive. Now, I was trying to look at it in context of the next card, which is going to be Queen Nefertiti with alchemy. I'm not giving you all the details of the card just because I'm tired and my like literal head is hurting from trying to listen to everything. What you do need to know is that there is a documentation of success in the past in different societies, and that is happening within the context of this moment. Earlier, when I looked at one of the first cards, I was talking about the divine masculine being the nature of this country's structure, right? Like that's how we were founded as a country with divine masculine energy. And this feels very divine feminine energy coming in to restructure how we look at this country. When it comes out in the reverse, there's this, it's going to take a while for that divine feminine structure to make its appearance. And it's going to require us to take the seeds that are being planted with this midterm election. We have to plant those seeds, give it time, nourish it. Like we have to do some actual work. Let's say that we do get a dim majority based off of tomorrow's election. That's great, right? Got a dim majority. Yay! That dim majority does not mean that we are done. We are not done. We are nowhere near done. There's a lot more work that needs to happen, and we need to take that and build on it. There's going to be more elections that are coming 2 years after. The presidential election being the big one that everybody's going to remember. That being said, we need to take what happens tomorrow and use that to really make some concrete steps towards the kind of changes that need to be made. If that means, and I'm going to get a little bit more in depth with this, constitutional convenings, right? We know for a fact that the Republicans are trying to prepare for a constitutional convening that would essentially throw out the U.S. Constitution as we know it and completely redo it. That is what the Republican Party has already started working on. It was in the news. I will see if I can try to post this in the comments later. If the Republicans are doing that, why are the Democrats not doing that? Why are we not thinking about what would a new U.S. Constitution look like? why aren't we considering what the vision for our country could be if it's not in this design? Why are we not preparing for our own constitutional community? Why are we not putting together the crews? And in that constitutional convening, who are we including in the conversation? Because historically, we've only talked to attorneys or other legislators. We've only talked to elected officials. What happens if, I don't know, if we incorporate regular people in the constitutional convening? Is there a way that we can incorporate more of the local community in that? And so building, but in a divine feminine energy, what would that look like? And for me, that looks like it's a more inclusive process, and a process that isn't dependent on the ways that we've done it before. The last card we've got is Sacred Lust, and this is our last card for the reading tonight, is Katesh. I did see one comment about free readings. I am not doing free readings right now. I am going to be doing my weekly The Writer's Tarot readings, and it's being broken up for like genre. In the next month, by December, I will be going to Zodiac readings, and those will be again here on YouTube. And then we'll see about doing personal readings again. My energy is limited, so I have to respect that, and that's why I take my time. Sacred Lust. It looks as though there are some successes. They do look, again, it does look like we have a positive aim at the Democratic majority in Congress. But it also looks like there's this real need to start getting more honest in our approach at the grassroots level. In this image, when you take a look, you see she's very naked, and she's got both her lovers here, right? And she's not holding anything back. She's not hiding anything. She's not trying to mask anything. I think there's this real need to get really just open and apparent and say that what we're aiming for, strategy and politics, is all about what moves you can make behind doors, right? So it's not just what happens in the news and what happens at the podium, but what happens behind doors. And there's this real need, there's this real desire for us to be more open about that process and open to the community. I'm not sure what that looks like at the local level. I'm not sure what that looks like at the federal level, but I think that it's what would make the difference, right? If we say, here's the thing, we are electing these folks because they can do this, this, and this right now, but our big goal is we want to change this, change that, change that. Stop playing respectability games and get honest, get real. Again, I don't know what that looks like. I know that every organization has its own ethos. I know that lots of folks are worried about how the general community will react to that kind of thing, and how people tend to talk about politics as though it's something separate from themselves, as opposed to like something that literally impacts their day-to-day life. But once we can start making those connections through storytelling, and this is something I already like talk about, but like having people who are directly impacted by the issues be the front, be the actual communicators, right? Stop putting politicians up and start putting people who have real experiences with those interactions and letting them be the lead when it comes to deciding what kind of policies we're going to go after next, when it comes to deciding who we're going to interact with in the community. Let the people who have the real experiences be the ones leading, and not just the people who went to college and got the degree for it. I hope that was a clear message. It is late at night. It is now 1:46 Central Standard Time. And I know that everybody is going to be real tired tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot of energy floating around. Like I said at the very beginning of this, like I said on TikTok, please do what you can to take care of yourself spiritually and physically before you go into the polls and while you're there. please take the time to take care of yourself afterwards. There's a lot of energy floating around. This is a really pivotal day for a lot of folks, both personally and publicly. And I need you to take care of yourself. I need you to center yourself. I need you to meditate. I need you to get some rest, to laugh if you can, and to remember that it doesn't matter what the headlines are. Taking care of you is always going to be a priority, right? You cannot continue to do your job, to do your thing, to follow the message and the calling that you've received. You cannot continue to do it if you're not taking care of yourself. That's period, point blank. You only have a finite amount of energy, so take care of it. I hope that this helped. I hope that this encourages. I hope that you feel seen and heard. And I wish you nothing but blessings. And I'm going to light a candle for everyone going to the polls tomorrow. Peace. Good night.